Hi, I'm Alexander the OK, and welcome to the 7th episode of my War Thunder Japanese Tech Trick series. Today I'll be talking about the F1M2, the Rank 1 BR-1 Naval Floatplane Fighter, officially designated the Type 0 Observation Seaplane, although more commonly referred to by its short designation, the F1M2. I will re-go over short designations which I covered in my last episode, just to clarify these again. So, the first letter is F for observation floatplane. The first number is the major types of these in use by the Navy, so it's 1 because it's the first observation floatplane adopted by the Navy. The second letter is for the manufacturer, in this case M for Mitsubishi. And the final number is the various models within that major subtype. This includes the prototypes, so the F1M1 is the prototype designation, and the F1M2 is the production series. The F1M2 was codenamed Pete by the Arts. It was designed by the Mitsubishi Company in 1956, and the production model would receive an improved engine over the initial prototypes. It would have the Mitsubishi Zuse 14-cylinder radial that produced 875 horsepower. It would be armed with 2 Type 97 machine guns in the nose. These machine guns are very much like the Type 89s on the army planes. They were based on the Vickers machine gun. However, the Type 97 would have a different cartridge, being the 7.7x56, which is a little bit shorter than the 5.58 cartridge used in the army planes. This actually gave the Type 97 a higher muzzle velocity of 750 meters a second. The F1M also has a flexible rear-mounted gun, you can see there. This is also the Type 97, which is actually a copy of the Lewis gun. It can also carry 2 60-kilogram bombs. There were over 1,000 F1Ms produced during the war, and they served as observation planes on at least half of the Imperial Japanese Navy's battleships, this being the Fuso and Issei class, and also the Nagato class. It would also be carried by the Tone class of heavy cruiser. The F1M was quite a successful platform in service. In addition to its roles as an observation floatplane, it progressed into a number of secondary roles, including maritime patrols and even anti-submarine warfare and area control fighter as well. In War Thunder, the F1M is a very fun early game fighter. He's a little patient, unlike some of the other biplanes. Those floats do make it less manoeuvrable. You do kind of need to watch out when engaging other biplanes. However, most monoplanes will underestimate your manoeuvrability, as we all hopefully see in this battle. Now, as you can see, the main thing you want to do is climb as much as you can. If you're a float plane, any manoeuvring you do bleeds speed, which is very difficult to get back. You want to try and work your way sort of from the highest opponent down, as it were, if you can. In this case I can, no enemy has really bothered to climb, so I'm going to go and dive on this D500. You do need to watch your speed. You can hit over 500 kilometers an hour in this plane. However, above that you do start losing floats, which can be quite dangerous if it comes to landing. So, get a crit on that and kill this pilot. As you can see, I hit 500 kilometers an hour and my left support float has gone, which is... Also, if you manage to lose both floats, it does make you more manoeuvrable, but it makes landing a little more risky if you don't land perfectly level, as it were. As you can see, the rest of my team, other than 2 bombers, have died, so I'm on my own against all these fighters, more or less. I decided to dive on this D500, however, I don't want to lose too much altitude. As you can see, both those P-36s are following me. My engine gets damaged here and I start leaking fuel and oil, so I'm going to RTB now. Well, this will drag a lot of the fighters back towards my airfield, however I don't intend to loiter around my airfield to get them to be killed by the AAA there. It's just that, well, I'm not dead yet, I'm going to keep fighting until I am, and in order to do that I would like a working engine, so I will RTB. Normally I'd cut away and just come back when I was landing, however I actually have something to talk about in this episode, and that is the use of observation planes in War Thunder. Now recently War Thunder for tanks introduced a spotting mechanic whereby light tanks can pinpoint enemy targets on the field by using their binoculars and spotting them. It would be quite an interesting feature and a nice way of getting more, well, particularly Japanese seaplanes, although there are a number of, obviously, Allied planes, Russian planes, etc., which are observation planes, which could see a bump in BR and use as observation planes when the ships finally come into the game. So this would be a case of giving the planes a binocular feature or something similar, whereby they could use that to spot enemy ships and highlight them to the rest of their team on the ground. Now this would be probably have to be limited in range to say 1500 meters for something like a destroyer, and under a kilometer, maybe half of it, maybe half a kilometer or 750 meters for patrol vessels and the like, just so in order to spot the planes you have to be able to be shot at relatively effectively by those ships AA. I think would balance that nicely and would make a nice little role for observation planes like the F1M and all of the E series of the Japanese planes, of which there are some fairly interesting planes among them, which I might cover in a speculative video on Japanese planes which could be included in War Thunder but aren't at the moment. So here you can see I'm taking off, I'm flying away from my airfield, trying to cover the Heinkel 111. See, both the P-36s have started to move to engage me. One has already received a little bit of damage. I'm trying to keep an eye on both of them, and here I dive under the first one as it makes past me. He does manage to get a few hits on my tail, however it's nothing serious, nothing's going to cripple my movability. And here you can see he's actually decided he will engage me in a turn fight, which is probably a mistake. Not only is this a biplane, but it's a biplane that gets combat flaps. So even here you can see I'm hitting 100 kilometers an hour and I've not really stalled out, so... Oop! Very nearly hit the other P-36 there. And you can see the Type 97s, like the Type 89s, are spectacularly effective, but if you can get time on targets, it's quite nice. There you can see I using the rudder to flip my plane around to avoid getting shot at by that P-36, who does score a hit on my rear gunner there, although he's still alive, so that's something. Just keep manoeuvring under this P-36, and here I'm able to get onto his tail. He's still being engaged by the base AAA. I moved further away, but obviously I'm being engaged. I can't really afford to. He is far enough away that the base AA isn't terribly effective. He's actually taken out by the friendly Ju-88 there, so that's very nice. It is now 2 enemy aircraft left, I believe, versus me and the Ju-88, the Heinkel 111 you may have caught, was attempting to gun a ship and crashed into the ground. So here I'm hoping to escort the Ju-88 over to try and engage some more. He does say he's going to land, but he does seem to follow me rather than go back. So yes, observation planes in War Thunder. I think there is a possible role for them, although I doubt Gaijin will introduce any such mechanic anytime soon, or we'll even see this video and hear about it. But I would certainly like to see more float planes. I think they're fun. They're not necessarily the best, although this is quite a nice little float plane. At BR1 it can do pretty well if you're a bit patient. You'll see some more one-on-one dogfighting. The main thing is you bleed a lot of speed while manoeuvring, so it generally helps if you have altitude over your opponent, or at least you have altitude enough to dive or manoeuvre in a downward spiral in order to keep up your speed. That's me embarrassingly turning off my engine while I'm attempting to type. The J8's making sure I don't go head on, which don't worry, I have no intention to. Here you can see the sort of downward spiral in an attempt to confuse the Hurricane. And pick the plane up and over in order to get onto the Hurricane 6. Unfortunately, the Ju-88 does go head on with the Hurricane, which means he dies. However, the Hurricane here makes a mistake. The Hurricane is a manoeuvrable aircraft, but against a biplane, even a float plane biplane, it's not manoeuvrable enough. Here you can see again getting into the below around 100 kilometers an hour and still able to not stall and keep on that Hurricane, get shot in on his pilot. So it's now a 1v1 versus between me and it's a French aircraft. I think it's a D500 I was shooting at earlier. I got away, I think. We'll see though. Why is it? So I spend the time climbing to the side. I don't want to get over that AAA, just because it'll be annoying. You can see I've actually spotted him here. He's just there to the right above the A marker. Yep, spotted him there. It is indeed that D500 I was shooting at. So the Type 97 machine gun, the rear-mounted one, which is based on the Lewis gun, is I have killed planes with it. However, unlike the J1N1, it's not as useful shooting at range, because you only have the one, so it's more difficult to hit opponents at range. You can't get a nice spread like you can on J1N1. And obviously, does less firepower than average it does do is minimal in comparison. The slight blackout there was me checking out this guy's player card. I just wanted to see how experienced he was. However, I didn't want to leave his player card up there on the screen just as a courtesy, I suppose. There's contrails in this wintry map. I'm basically just going back and forth. I don't want to seem like I'm running away from him, but I don't want to get any closer to that AAA fire, which you can see. And here it was sort of clipping my aircraft, so I wanted to keep turning around. You can see some speculative opening fire there, and I dive beneath him like I did on the Hurricane earlier, duking left and right so he can get round. And again, going up and over, and attempting to drop onto the D500. However, he is a bit more manoeuvrable than the Hurricane. but not that removable. Here you can see, if you keep the nose down, it does enable you to sort of cut the corner in the turn, as it were. And I've now slotted in on this D506. He probably shouldn't have engaged in this turning fight and instead just gone straight on after his initial passing in terms of gain altitude. There I set him on fire, and I decide that with the crit I scored earlier, I'll just leave him, and there he goes, he's dead. GG, that was quite a fun game. It's interesting being the last fighter alive. I like to thank that JU88, he was a big help, and that Heinkel 111 for not leaving me in the lurch, as it were. So yes, the F1M2, sorry, the Japanese float plane. It's fun. It's not the best. I'd like to see more float planes like it included in War Thunder. Next episode will be on the H6K and the H8K. I'll be covering both of them since they're quite similar aircraft. I've been Alexander the OK. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Goodbye.